guys, got it pretty well tore apart. I'm installing my new Vitavon bulkheads for my plastic ones. Plastic ones have been working out okay, but I have been taking them apart a lot, and I've pretty well stripped a lot of the holes, unfortunately. So figured if I was going to invest the money, get into something a little bit nicer. Heard good things about hot racing, but these Vitavon are supposed to be really nice. The fitment is amazing. I did have to shim it, and I'll show you that in a second here. I got the silver. They do come in red as well. Show you the difference in the bearing difference. So you got the oversized bearing, and it comes with that one, but you do have to reuse your inner bearing where your spiral gear is. So just FYI. With that being said, it was quite interesting to get off the spiral gear, the input gear here. I had to really heat this up with a torch, so I did get a little butane torch, and it worked out really well with this. So I heated up probably 3 times before I got to actually, the grub screw came out no problem, but actually getting to slip off of the shaft, that was another story. There was a ton of Loctite on there. So I had to heat it up 3 times to be able to get it off. And what I ended up doing was using this, and I put it inside of the grub screw hole and kind of just popped it. Finally moved a little bit, and I used a flathead to get it thrust away. So that was a little difficult, but heated up enough, it will come. I didn't melt anything. The safety cup is still 100% intact. So I have some Techno shims and some stock shims. So I've already got this one all shimmed and ready to go. So I'll tell you what I had to do. Take this off. And I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see. See if I can get the light here. But I have three shims on the gear side, pushing that over. So it took 3 shims to tighten that up. There's no play in it now. Oops. And then I ended up behind the larger bearing. I ended up doing a couple of Techno shims, which are not the proper size. It's just what I had on hand. But I did a few shims. I say a few, I think it was only 2. 2 Techno shims like this, just to give it a little bit of push out to get the rear lined up well. So there's no play here either. So everything's really well meshed. And it did come with all the hardware. The only thing you have to move is the larger bearing and the grub screw for the sway bar. Okay, so the fitment though of this is really nice. This just slides on and fits rock solid. Alright, let's toss in this first and just see what the side to side. So let's get it under the light so you guys can see. Don't mind the little dog hairs. So quite a bit. That's about the same as it was on the other one. Alright, got the battery tray in and reinforced. I have a M3 bolt going underneath. These holes are already all existing through the middle. And I got big fender washers with a lock nut on top. They don't stick up too tall, but that will not break. That is not going anywhere. They all fit perfectly. They're 1-inch fender washers, and those are going to reinforce this from breaking. Slowly but surely making progress. Got my ESC plate in there, diff support, motor and motor mount, cooling fans, all coming together. A little ways to go. I just wanted to share with you guys this little setup here. And then I have a really nice thick rubber pad that's going to sit in there so my batteries don't get marked up. But the battery tray is definitely reinforced. Alright, one thing I noticed was the spacing. There was a small gap right there, so I ended up putting a couple of rubber washers in there to take up that space. So the fitment was a little off when we screwed these in. It left a small gap. So I used a couple rubber washers to fill that space just so it wouldn't move. But everything else fit well. Just needed basically a shim under there, but I used a rubber washer. Give you guys an update on the truck here. Got a few things upgraded. The front steering blocks, I went with Hot Racing. Got the 17mm wheel extensions from M2C. Really nice addition, really like those. Give it a little bit more offset as well. Went with the Vitavon bulkheads, really nice fitment. I did end up having to put about 0.4 millimeters of shim in there total. So that is either 2.2s, or I did a couple of the 0.1s, so it ended up being 3 shims. So 0.4 millimeters altogether to get that diff solid in between there so that there's no play. I also did a shim behind the drive cup that comes out the rear of the bulkhead, the drive link pinion. That I did a shim behind the larger bearing just to kind of push that pinion out a little bit more to get a tight fit with less play. So it does require some shimming, but really nice quality and finish on everything. So just guys, give you an update on that if you guys are looking to go to one of those. Loctited everything, but really nice. Definitely highly recommend. Got the new emulsion ZR shock system from M2C with their standoffs. Really nice. I like the system. Everything fit really well. I did actually go with 100 weight shock oil just to kind of give it a little bit more rigidity with all the added weight. This, I ended up actually, what I did was I adjusted my droop screws to make sure my dog bones don't pop out, but I did put a 5mm thick nylon bushing on the shock shaft to limit some of the compressions so they don't pop out when it's fully compressed. I think that's going to help greatly. Seems to be a very common issue, so Coming around to the side here, I went with the GPM front steering block that connects to the servo saver in the front. That is took a little bit of finesse to get it in there. It was a little tight, so I did have to get the Dremel out and sand, or grind a little material off to get it to fit perfectly. But not a big deal. Still would recommend them. When you start mixing parts, you start to have some fine details of movement. With plastic, obviously, you have a little more cushion, room for error, I guess, margin for error. With the aluminum, it's either fitting or it don't, so I had to do some modification with grinding, but not a big deal. I also did the GPM upper hinge pin block in the rear, G servo saver that's adjustable. Got that cranked down pretty well, so that should be a big improvement. Got the hot racing link to the servo, 55 kilogram servo with was running at 7.4. It's about 50 kilograms at 681 ounces. Hot racing servo mount. I did go ahead and upgrade to the M2C ESC plate as well, mounting plate that'll fit the Max 6 or the stock Arrma brands, which will be the BLX or the Spectrum. Got a couple fans there. I did upgrade the fan in the actual ESC. It's a rocket fan that had higher RPMs, so definitely moving more air. And then have these aftermarket aluminum motor fans that are 30 millimeters on the Power Hobby heatsink. Got the Goliath chassis from M2C as well. Really impressed with the fitment and everything. Everything is perfect. Again, Loctite at everything. Center braces, M2C. Center brace, M2C. Heat shrink the wiring from the fans over to the receiver box. I went ahead and upgraded, or I guess just kind of beefed up the battery tray since I had everything apart. These holes are already existing, but they don't go all the way through typically. I do have a thick rubber pad I'm going to put down there so that my batteries don't get messed up. But these are all lock nuts, 3mm lock nuts with the big fender washers on there. And this thing is not budging, not coming out. So that worked out really well. I've already explained in a different video, I upgraded my turnbuckles to 5mm, just drilled out these holes to make those look larger. So that works out really well. M2C Racing skid plate. Here's the hot racing rear steering blocks. I guess they're not steering blocks, they're just hubs. And the wheel extensions from M2C Racing as well. Again, you got these shocks upgraded to the M2C with the standoffs. The Vitavon Bulkhead M2C lower hinge pin. So everything's upgraded to aluminum. The rear brace down here is from GPM. Great fit, no problems at all there. Rear wing mount, M2C Racing. Some aftermarket mud guards. Fan covers are from Pyro-nitro or Nitro Pyro. Sorry if I said that backwards. He does 3D printing, really nice fit. I ended up really liking these ones because underneath he leaves a groove a little space so that the fan can spin freely without hitting the cage, without any issues there. So everything is upgraded as far as I am going to go. I really do like the arms from stock. They're a lot beefier, and I don't think the RPM one's flexibility is going to help with all the weight. Oh, one of the big things I did do, which I'm really excited about, is I got rid of the double wing mount that I had going and went with these 3D printed ones, and they are super flexible. I don't know if I can get a good shot of how much that's flexing, but really nice. Impressed with the flexibility, and I don't think I'm going to have nearly as many issues with this bending or breaking with the landing on the rear end as much, which happens quite often. Still getting that down. So let me know what you guys think. If you have any questions on anything, there's a little bit of fitment, you know, had to figure out. I did add the rear on the shock shaft itself, again, a nylon bushing, about 5 millimeters thick, just to limit that travel a little bit so the rear dog bones and the front dog bones don't pop out when they're fully extended. So thanks for watching. If you guys have any questions, give me a holler. More than happy to help with any fitment issues or questions on how things may work. Thanks.